What's up, guys? I want to discuss a tool that I use or a mindset that I use in order to provide me with more confidence, uh, helps me to approach situations that I feel are very risky, and helps me to take bolder action. It's what I call the safety net. Just as a trapeze artist or high wire performer, tightrope walker has a safety net below them, or oftentimes has a safety net below them for when things go wrong, I like to develop a safety net understanding of what's going to happen if the worst case happens, or what's going to happen if things don't go according to plan. If things were to go very, very wrong, what happens? That way I provide myself with an understanding of it, and I start to eliminate this anxiety about bad things happening, or what happens if the worst case scenario occurs. All these dozens and dozens of scenarios, if I can focus in on what the absolute worst case scenario is, then I can start to understand if I can live with that. Is that going to be okay? And so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to take all of these bad possible outcomes, really evaluate them, come to the worst one that we can see, or even just the collection of bad outcomes, and say, well, can I live with that? If that's a realistic outcome from the situation that I'm facing, is that going to be okay? Will I be okay? And will I recover? A lot of times you can think about, you're struggling to take potentially bold but appropriate actions in order to drive improvement, or to achieve a new level of success, or to change, manage change, large scale change, or even small scale change, but that's very critical. These situations often cause us a lot of pause, and a lot of times we won't approach them because of the risk we associate with them. So what we're trying to do, what I try to do, is give myself an understanding that although it's like you can never achieve those great possible outcomes without taking the risk, right? So I need to become comfortable with the risk. And the way that I do that is I take a look and, like I said, frame the worst possible scenarios, and then understand how bad that would be. Understand that I will still be alive and that I will still have the chance to recover. What this does is it tends to make risk far less scary. So, for example, if I wanted to quit my job and start a business, then I need to evaluate, well, what happens if it doesn't work? What happens if I fail? What happens if I run out of money? Well, maybe I have to move in with someone. Maybe I have to couch surf. Maybe I have to move back in with my parents. Whatever these worst case scenarios are, as you start to brainstorm this possible list, and this is just one possible example, you need to understand is that I'd still survive. Like, if the outcome isn't death, then I will have a chance to recover. These factors get multiplied, and there's a lot of additional risk and additional concerns when you have a family, when you have a wife, when you have kids, when you have a significant other, or whatever factors that you have and obligations you have in your life definitely need to be considered. But what we're trying to do is frame out the absolute worst case scenario, understand how would we feel about that, and obviously it's not what you want, but you will be okay. So what is it that you can live with? What does your safety net look like? That if these things went wrong, this is what's going to catch me, and I'm going to be fine. And what we're doing there is making that risk less scary. We're enabling ourselves with the confidence and courage to take action by eliminating the scenarios that we can't necessarily foresee, or the ones that we blow up as if they would be the end of the world, when truthfully it won't be, and everything will be just fine. So once you gain an understanding of those things, they become much more real, and you can rationalize, what actions will I take if this happens? What will happen if this were to happen? What will happen to me? So this is a very useful tool, given it to several people who are facing very tough decisions that were risky decisions, and ultimately enabled them to take the right action, the bolder action that allowed them the opportunity of great success. So if you're struggling with difficult decisions, with risky decisions, or you don't feel strongly that you can act boldly, which ultimately fortune will favor, utilize this strategy. See if it helps. It's definitely helped me. I hope it helps you. Remember, you can't lose if you don't quit.